Welcome to the deep dive. Today, our mission is to really crack open a unique piece of gear. We're looking at the Electro Harmonix Modrex Polyrhythmic Modulator, which landed back in 2018. And just a heads up, if you're picturing a simple chorus or, a basic flanger, this isn't quite that. This thing was built from the ground up for what the source material calls wild, evolving textures. It's all about rhythmic complexity.
Right. It's interesting because it really pushes you past just thinking about effects as tone shapers. With the Modrex, you have to think rhythmically. So for this deep dive, we're exploring how EHX managed to take a pretty advanced musical idea, polyrhythms, and actually bake it into a stomp box format. And what that means if you want sequenced, tempo sync stuff in your sound.
Okay, yeah, let's get under the hood then. The complexity here, it's not just about having lots of effects, right? It's the whole architecture. It's built around 4 modulation engines, independent ones, but they all work together, synced up. And these sections are specialized. You've got the main mod section that covers the basics like flanger, phaser, filter, tremolo, standard stuff. But then there are 3 others, each with a specific job. There's a dedicated trem section, just for amplitude modulation.
Yep.
A pan section, purely for stereo panning effects, moving the sound around.
Crucial for stereo imaging.
And finally, a specific filter section, focusing on those low-pass resonant filter sweeps.
And that independence, that's the key difference, Compared to a lot of multi-effects pedals. Usually you stack effects, maybe 4 of them, but they often share timing, or they run one after the other sequentially.
Right.
Here, it's like having 4 separate little effect brains, each with its own clock, its own settings, all running side by side in parallel.
Okay, so parallel processing.
Exactly. And that's what lets you build up these really complex sonic layers. You're not just switching from a flanger to a tremolo. You could be running a flanger sequence at the same time as a panning sequence, and they interact.
And you're layering the processes themselves, not just the resulting sound.
Precisely. It just blows the sonic potential wide open.
Okay, so 4 independent engines, 4 clocks running together. But the real kicker, the reason we're doing this deep dive, is how it handles that timing. That's where the polyrhythms come in. Now, for those of us maybe not deep into music theory, what is a polyrhythm? Can we break that down simply?
Yeah, absolutely. The easiest way to think about it is, imagine tapping your foot steadily, like quarter notes. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay.
Now, while you're doing that, try clapping in triplets over it, like 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a...
Got it. They don't quite line up except at the start.
Exactly. That feeling of rhythmic tension, that push and pull between 2 different independent rhythms happening at the same time, that's a polyrhythm. The beats clash a bit, but they resolve together.
So the rhythm itself adds a kind of texture, not just structure.
You've got it. And the Modrex brings that concept into how the effects modulate. And here's where it gets really interesting. Each of those 4 engines, mod, trem, pan, filter, has its own little rhythm sequencer, up to 16 steps.
Correct.
And this is the crucial part. Those sequencers don't have to follow the same timing, the same subdivision as the main master tempo.
Whoa. Okay, hold on. So you're saying the flanger isn't just pulsing on and off with the beat. It could be following its own complex rhythmic pattern.
Yes.
That's completely different from the rhythm the tremolo is following.
That's exactly it. The Modrex lets you set different time divisions for each sequencer. That's how you get that real polyrhythmic interplay. Let's use the examples from the source material to make it clear. Imagine setting the tremolo to pulse in triplets, a really fast kind of rolling feel.
Okay, like 1 and a 2 and a...
Right. But at the same time, you program the phaser engine to sweep on simple quarter notes 1, 2, 3, 4.
So they're fighting each other rhythmically.
Fighting or maybe dancing. You get this beautiful flowing push and pull. The modulation isn't just predictable. It feels like it's constantly shifting, evolving under your playing.
Okay, that makes sense. Let's scale that up. What about the really complex stuff? The machine arguing with itself example.
Yeah, that's when you dive into the weirder time signatures. The source mentions setting up, say, filter sweeps running in 58 time.
58? Yeah. Okay, that's already feeling a bit lopsided.
It is. It's an odd groove. Now, imagine that running against a tremolo pattern you've set to 34 time, which feels much more like a waltz, more traditional.
Okay, my brain hurts slightly just thinking about that. 58 against 34.
Exactly. And the sound that creates... The modulation seems to kind of stumble or stagger rhythmically, but in this hypnotic way, it stops sounding like just a guitar effect and gets more into sound design, almost cinematic territory.
That rhythmic offsetting, that must be where those evolving textures come from.
Absolutely. It's the core of its unique sound.
But wait, if you've got all this rhythmic chaos quarters or triplets, 58, 34, all layered up?
Yeah.
How do you stop it from just becoming a complete mess? How does it all stay locked together somehow?
Ah, good question. That's where the sync features become absolutely critical. They're not just nice to haves, they're essential. The mod rex can be the timing master or it can follow something else. You can just tap in the tempo on the pedal itself. Simple enough.
A tap tempo, standard feature.
Right. But crucially, it also has a dedicated clock input and full MIDI synchronization.
Okay, MIDI sync is huge. So if you're working with a DI-D or you have a synth rig with a master clock.
Yeah, you send that MIDI clock signal into the mod rex.
And all those crazy independent rhythms, the 5/8 pan, the triplet tremolo, they all stay perfectly locked to your main project tempo.
Perfectly locked. It means the internal relationships between the effects rhythms can be super complex, polyrhythmic, whatever, but their relationship to the overall song, to the grid, stays stable.
That's the difference between just noise and controlled musical tension.
Exactly. Controlled chaos, maybe.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit. Practical uses. You can dial in a simple phaser or flanger, right? It does the basics.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It can do those standard modulation sounds easily enough, but let's be honest, that's not really why you'd buy this specific pedal.
Right, it feels like overkill for just a simple chorus.
Totally. Its real strength, its whole purpose, is creating sounds through sequencing those modulations. It's for people who want inherently rhythmic effects, often stuff that leans towards electronic music.
Like what kinds of sounds?
Well, because you can sequence the filter and the amplitude step by step, it's amazing for creating rhythmic gating effects. You know, those choppy, trance-like patterns.
Yeah, like sidechain compression, but generated by the effect itself.
Kind of. You can use those filter sweeps and weird time signatures to get that pumping, driving feel you hear in a lot of EDM. It's not just making your guitar sound swirly anymore. It's making the whole soundscape pulse.
And the stereo aspect seems really important here too, with that dedicated pan engine.
Oh, massively important. Stereo panning often gets overlooked, but having its own sequencer, it's a game changer for the mod rex. Think about setting the pan sequencer to a really fast, complex pattern, maybe moving in 16th notes, ping-ponging around.
Okay.
While maybe the tremolo is doing a slow, long half-note pulse. The sound isn't just moving left and right, it's being rhythmically chopped up as it flies around your head.
Wow.
If you're recording in stereo or playing through 2 amps, the sense of depth and movement is just huge. It makes everything sound so much bigger, more three-dimensional.
So who's really grabbing this pedal? We mentioned experimental folks, synth players.
Yeah, definitely them. And modular synth users. A big part of the appeal for that crowd is the control voltage, the CV input.
Ah, so it speaks the language of synths, not just guitars.
Exactly. It has an expression CV input, and you can assign that to control different parameters. So you could hook up an envelope generator from your modular rig or just a regular expression pedal.
And control what? The speed, the depth.
Yeah, things like that. Imagine you've got that hefty tremolo pattern going. You could use CV to subtly speed it up and slow it down, or maybe sweep the depth of the filter sequence in real time.
So the pedal becomes interactive, almost like another module in the synth setup.
Precisely. It becomes a performance tool, a rhythmic processor that fits right into those complex electronic rigs where sequencing and real-time control are everything. It's not just for guitar signals either. You can run anything through it.
And if you're spending time dialing in these intricate polyrhythms, you definitely need to save them.
Oh, for sure. It has multiple user presets, which is essential. Setting up a 58 pattern against a 34 pattern with specific depths and speeds. That's not something you want to recreate from scratch every time you power it up.
Absolutely not. Okay, stepping back a bit, let's place the mod rex in the bigger EHX picture. They're known for classics, big muffs, Memory Man. This feels quite different, very digital.
It is different, but it fits a pattern. It sits alongside their other big DSP-driven pedals, things like the Super Ego Plus Synth Engine or the Grand Canyon and Ocean series delays and reverbs.
Right, the ones that use serious processing power.
Yeah, they leverage digital tech to do things analog just can't, like complex sequencing, saving presets, deep MIDI control, multiple engines running at once. But the Mod Rex's specific contribution, its legacy really, is that it was EHX's big move into sequenced modulation in this way. Before this, rhythmic effects were mostly just tap-tempo LFOs.
Like a simple sine wave or square wave pulse.
Exactly. The Mod Rex showed EHX was really looking at what was happening in the modular world and even in DLOs with step sequencing and thinking, how can we bring that level of rhythmic control into a pedal?
It feels kind of fearless, doesn't it? For a company to release something this niche, this potentially complex, alongside their guaranteed sellers.
I think so, yeah. It showed they weren't just resting on their laurels. They were genuinely interested in taking these advanced digital concepts, step sequencing, polyrhythms, deep parameter control, and making them work in a rugged box you can stomp on.
They really bridged a gap there.
They did. And honestly, even now, several years later, the Mod Rex still stands out. There aren't many pedals quite like it, purely because of that deep commitment to polyrhythmic sequencing. It demands a bit more from the player, almost a compositional approach.
That sums it up well. It's a testament to pushing what a stomp box can do, showing that you can pack serious rhythmic complexity into that format if you're willing to think beyond standard timings.
And that brings us to a final thought, something for you to chew on. The Mod Rex basically takes a core function from music software, from DW, step sequencing, detailed rhythmic programming, and puts it right there on your pedal board.
Hardware incorporating software ideas.
Right. And does that change things? When a piece of hardware gets this advanced with sequencing and timing control, does it stop being just an effect and maybe start becoming an instrument in its own right? What lines get blurred when a pedal takes direct inspiration from the kind of features you'd normally find only in a production environment or a big modular system? It's an interesting question about where the technology is taking us.
Definitely something to think about. When does an effect become a creative partner? Thanks for joining us for the deep dive.